Good evening from New York. I am your personal mystic, and you're a mystic too. Think about it. Anyway, tonight I'm gonna present how religions, seem to have evolved, and and the evolution of inner mind communication, or the mystic experience, how that has evolved, and Unitarian Universalism, uh, and the spiritual link, mystic link between all religions. Wow. Gee, am I smart enough to do this? Probably not, but here we are. Uh, the religious idea that religions evolved occurred to me studying Quakerism. I experienced that also. I haven't mentioned that before. Retracings. And so, what does it evolve from? Well, it evolves from early attempts to picture the world and so on, which had limited connection to the sciences, which give us a greater perspective on objectivity, compassion, and creativity. So that you've got a lot of extraneous kinds of the philosophy that springs from these, and the religions that spring from and that occur have occurred in the past are more limited in some ways in terms of facilitating the mystic path, which is a path of deep introspection in which we improve our virtues, which means that we have to communicate with objective, creative, and compassionate empathy. From these things, we get an order, truth, artfulness, and goodness. And so, and also, basic awareness of ourselves. This also evolved. Um, in Hinduism, the oldest of religions, pretty much, there was the idea of an unchanging self or soul. Buddha said no, that there was no such thing, and he didn't find such a thing in his mystic journey. Um, and so there's not a smooth evolution, but then it goes in spurts uh, and in various forms. What you see, in Judaism is a big emphasis about a unity experience and a unity of what holds things together, that there is one absolute truth, and which, of course, according to those times, they personified that as God, as something they can relate to, which also existed in Hinduism. And then we saw Christianity. Christianity was very strong in terms of compassionate empathy. It represented that facet very strongly. Whereas Hinduism emphasized the creativity very strongly. Their Krishna, for instance, was the god at play, and controlled play, that's creativity. That's the creative empathy. And the Buddha promoted objective empathy. He looked within and was very rational about what he found. So these things bubbled up and gave birth to a number of different perspectives. And Quakerism was one in which everyone attempted to be a mystic all on their own and make this connection with the absolute truth, God. And that was remarkable. And you also notice that when it comes to progress, that the mystics were always involved in the modernization of humanity. The increase in these perspectives overall, the greater equality of people, and respect for human rights, and all of these sorts of things. And some of our great mystics in recent times have been Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the great leader in South Africa, Mr. Nelson Mandela. And you see this sort of uprising. And they changed our world. Before this, we had Krishna, and supposedly it was a real person. And the Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad, may peace be upon him. Islam actually emphasized the trust factor because you don't grow in regard to these perspectives unless you have this faith or this trust, this total trust in this process of increasing that perspective and becoming, like that perspective in yourself, becoming more, as religions would say, godly, or more in line with the Buddha nature. Yeah. So this kind of this kind of evolution I retraced in my days, looking back. But I started with some pretty fundamentalist Christian views, and then decided to expand outward because my father had studied all different kinds of Christianity and came to this particular conclusion that he did. And I said, well, you're leaving out some things. So I said, I wanted to experience more of the religions. But I wanted to see, what I thought made me a better person. And I wasn't finding a lot of help from the fundamentalist deal and the symbolic stuff, like being immersed in water uh, and mumbling a statement of faith. I didn't find that made me much of a better person. Maybe little, but not much. And I began to see that this was all part of a need to heal oneself from damaged faith and love. And the sciences today are coming around to that as well. And studying science can be very helpful to the mystic path, the objective mystic path, which I think is the final evolution, or it's up there. There might be something else. I'm sure there is. But for now, the message of that I am bringing to you. And hopefully I am not alone. I remember my teacher in Buddhism, when one of his dear friends died, he felt very alone, and he gave a sermon and spoke of his friend. And, now only one to teach the Dharma. Tears in his eyes. He was an amazing man. But I experienced Vaishnava Hinduism, oneness with that creative nature, sense that you were in a loving play with God. Yeah. I experienced the no self. Um, Experience of Buddhism. And I experienced then those things having arisen. I also experienced Sufism, which is about the trust, to surrender. I found all these interesting. I didn't find that I was changed as much as I would like. There wasn't enough healing going on with that. I was impressed with the great Arthur Janoff's attempts to deal with trauma and those like him during the 60s. I think that's important. We need to do something about damaged faith and love. It has all kinds of negative effects when you don't. And there's a mystic is progressive, it just is. You It moves us toward greater compassion, objectivity, and creativity. And so my next experience was back with Christianity in a spirit-filled group. And there I experienced some things which I found it very difficult to explain. Um, just the most incredible sense of compassion which you would expect Christianity, and a kind of transcendence of of my normative self in another way than what I experienced before. And it was then that I had what some called words of knowledge, which were very moving. And many experienced that. And being frustrated with the position that put me in, I prayed for a higher way, a better way that taught people to take the path themselves and not trust in a flawed human being, So I was given 3 dialogues. Found out later they had to do with, I was told to study these things, and I found out later they had to do with out loud verbal dialogues that help to enhance our objective, creative, and compassionate empathy. Okay, wow. What about the earlier stuff? Was it unimportant? No. The infant mind experience, in which you get by dissolving your language view of the world, is amazing. The ability of the infant to focus, to be at play, and to express in regard to their basic needs lays the foundation for the later development of the forms of empathy I talked about just a second ago. And so focus, play, expression were, part of the package. And doing all of these things together, I found that I was getting results that were just like I got when I was going through primal therapy with the editor of the Primal Scream. And it's been so many years. And not trying to pull a crazy Trump memory problem here. But I am getting up there. I'm 70, and that was a long time ago. Oh, geez. Oh, this other name keeps popping in my head. Ruth Carter Stapleton. I might as well mention her. I experienced President Jimmy Carter's little sister's attempt to do prayer for the healing of memories, which attempts to deal with damaged faith and love. Back before she passed away, and beautiful woman, very, very, very kind, and thoughtful, and intent on helping the world, which I think her brother did too. I think he had a big heart, Jimmy. Yeah, and Jimmy's he's still with us. Right? He's still with us, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we still have Jimmy. Jimmy Carter was an amazing, good guy, and I think he was a much better president than people like to say. He was just a victim of the circumstances of the time, which many presidents are often blamed for things that had nothing to do with But part of the job, isn't it? Unfortunately. But just like Joe, he's doing a great job right now, but he doesn't get any credit for it. Yeah, go figure, people. But they need to grow up, and realize their full real self, their full mystic realization. Um, the Unitarian Universalist Church attempts to bring together all of the religions under the same umbrella, and non-religion as well, atheism. So, what could glue all of these together? Path of the mystic, the path of compassion, creativity, and objectivity. So that's what holds. That's how you can understand the different religions and appreciate the good in them, without being terribly negative, causing a war. So, this Unitarian Universalism is part of that evolution. I think as they realize what actually connects all of these things together, and how to practice and move forward with that, then I think that will be an awakening day. Um, and I hope to see that. Yeah. Because I think church and synagogues are really great, because if they are extended families for people, and it's easy to consider that the real philosophy of intermind communication says it does take a village to raise a child, and at the very least, a connection between grandparents, parents, and children. Um, and where that doesn't exist, I believe we have problems. And we need to, in a loving way, connect people to a feeling, or form of this. Wherever the children are, they need people to step in these extended family organizations, such as temples, churches, and so on, mosques. They need to come together and supply those grandparents, and in some cases, parents, people who can, as mentors, step in and love those kids. But yeah, that's what they should be trying to do. Um, and people need a little, as much education as they can in these groups regarding child development, and what the children really need. This is part of the blessing of the modern times. Education in these groups need to be more scientific and aimed toward one of the deeper purposes of having these kinds of groups. Um, but it's the mystic path that holds everything together and allows us to love everyone, no matter who, and no matter what religion they may hold. Um, let's see. Um, yeah, let's see if I can stimulate this old brain to come up with who my primal therapist was. Let's see, she was the editor of The Primal Scream, which was the first book of Arthur Jenoff, and he kind of regretted that. Everybody thought his therapy was primal scream therapy, and but it was all about screaming, and of course it wasn't. It was just something that happened in a group setting with one patient that alerted him to the need to, in some sense, re-experience the trauma and overcome it. Well, what happens when you re-experience? You unlearn helplessness around being able to express, to feel, to focus on, and to be eventually at play with things that happen to us that damaged our faith in the Lord. You could see it through different lenses. That's what I mean, play. So, and of course, the problem is that addictions develop, and bad health develops from this damaged faith and love. And the path of the mystic can help to heal it. And there's an overlap between the 6 techniques that I talk about and approaches that are extant now, attempts to deal with trauma. It's up to you to study all these things and see what those things are. That's how things grow and develop. The mystic path comes from within. During that time, I'll have to mention that there was something beautiful that I experienced in that spiritual group. Was the kind of, it just, the love and the vision of it was so awesome and beautiful and loving that, bring tears to your eyes. I get traces of that now when I do my practice and I'm communicating with the inner artist. And one of the triggers for me to have this feeling was this one little short section of a song. When the trumpet of the Lord will sound, and time will be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. Well, you don't have to wait. When you're in communion with the inner artist, you are in heaven. It's from there that you can have a sense of being above your timeline and have the perspective of enjoying your story, your movie, and you in it from a distance, and in a loving way, encouraging you to be the hero of love, that story, that movie, to take to the mystic path, find a greater comfort zone with objectivity, creativity, and compassion, a growing comfort zone, which means unlearning old helplessness around needs, feelings, and their expression due to traumas, so that you can change those unfortunate events into a realization that the needs you pictured then, that sprang into symbols that you were addicted to, symbols of the conditions and needs and so on of that time, to realize, to break down those symbolic defenses against what was overwhelming once with love. Break them down. And the process I talk about does that. It makes them less and less effective, so that you can realize that these things are losses, not current event. And a symbolic form is how it takes over your present and your future. So resolving these things is a kind of freedom from the past, and a greater embracing of virtues. Um, yeah, just tears in my eyes. And most of the time, when I would have this experience and ex- speak from the position of the artist, things would come to me, and they were so loving and amazing. And I seemed to know things about people I had no way to figure out how I could have known, and in detail, and not guessing around. Just that was, yeah, that was a little unnerving also, and not a healthy thing to, for people. I don't think, they need to find their own way. They might have to start that way. Maybe that's necessary sometimes, but people need to get on their feet. They need to learn how to help themselves. That's very important in unlearning helplessness. Eventually, you're doing that yourself, with or without assistance. So, you know, you need to embrace the path. And so, oh, it's terrible when you get old. Can't remember things that you would have remembered before easily. Um, but it's still our job as elders to share the wisdom that we've gained in life, and to make sure it's available to people. And I hope that I'm doing that, and fulfilling my small mission on this planet. And wish I could give proper credit to this loving woman who did primal therapy for me. Um, if you've got the book, The Primal Scream, it surely should mention the editor, at least in some of the first editions. So, Anne Farnell. Boom, there it is. The old guy in the library up there finally says, I found it. Thank you. Anne Farnell. Anne Farnell Blow. Yeah, I knew her as Anne Farnell. But she was obviously married to some fellow named Blow. So anyway, she was the editor of that book, and did the therapy herself. And how she got her facility was that she um, helped someone get off of heroin, and someone's son, and the father donated the space for her to do her work. Um, uh, he was a very beautiful person, very nice, very kind. You know, but to tell you the truth, the things that came to me, this path of the mystic, I can retrace and go back and see where she made mistakes. And isn't that what we should do? Is surpass our teachers? I hope you surpass me. Make me proud. But anyway, I guess I can wrap this up now. And I'm tired. I hope that I've given you some kind of information that you can use. And I have other videos where I give you a sense of how to practice I am open to doing a Zoom with anyone to teach them more if they wish it. Um, there is a group in Facebook, Intermind Communication. Here on Facebook, you can join that, and a lot of what the material in there is just these videos. But if you if you ask questions there, I will see them and be able to respond, hopefully. And so, if you want to make comments on the video, that's fine. If it's constructive criticism, I'm open to that, as long as it's kind and not just there to troll uh, and distract from obvious truths in some cases, I've found. But yeah, I'm open to constructive criticism. But if you want to look at different points of view, I try to give different links at the end. I would like it if you wish and find it useful. I would like you to subscribe to the channel. Maybe in the future we can work together to spread the message and to help many people. That would be very nice. I would like to see a clinic established. I would like to see some testing done. Uh, and more scientific applications to analyze and see who it's best for and so on. But if people that do mindfulness and all these things, if you can do that, you can do this. And you got to be gentle with yourself. That's it. You got to, if you're going to be mean to yourself, then you need a therapist. You know. But if you can be comforting with yourself using these approaches, you should be okay. And ready for the journey. And healing will come. Sometimes a lot of healing comes slowly, so you have to be patient. I have found that I'm a better person with these approaches, and what could really help the whole system would be a community. I hope that we form a community. You can help. If you want to share the video, I will be so happy. If you want to comment, that would be great. And and go to the Facebook page, look into that. I have a website, intermindcommunication.com. So let's do something good for YouTube, which has done so much for the world, and help it help spread. I think a very useful way to see our troubles in this world at this time. Because this has a whole philosophy attached to it as well. And perhaps not just one. It's fun to see about how this evolves. Anyway, as I like to say at the end of my presentations, I like to use the word namaste. And the reason is that this is a greeting ancient Veda and Vedanta. This is a greeting that honors the Buddha nature, the Buddhism, the Buddha nature, the potential within all of us to grow that comfort zone and to be a blessing in the world and to be the hero of love in our stories, increasingly so. Baby steps, but increasingly so. And to realize that we're all part and parcel of the same universe, the same objective reality that some personify and some don't. It's up to you. But personification is a better way to improve your virtues. But that's okay. People find their own way. And as the Buddha said, a person can say, I have a way. And can say, I have a way, I have the only way. So, anyway, that's what namaste means. And from that position and that realization in me, and that fact, factual position in which we are all in, I would like to honor that same in you. Namaste. And as I like to say at the end, at the very end, have a good evening and a good day. And there's just one thing I love. It's an Irish blessing, and this time I'll give you that blessing. I had put it to music so I would hopefully never forget it. It's such a beautiful blessing. And it goes something like this. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain falls soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Have a great day, y'all, and a good evening. Depending on what it is when you read this or see this. Have a great one. Blessings on your heads. Namaste.